Good evening. This evening on Hopper Hot Take, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of previous videos and some topics that I talked about earlier over the weekend and whatnot on the Hopper Hot Take, and we're going to go back to June 11th, 2019. June 11th, 2019, Hezekiah Walters took his last breath on the football field. He took his last breath on the football field during a summer conditioning drill in Tampa, Florida, when he collapsed during the workout and died. Now, I first learned of his fate June 12th, I believe it was. I think it was the very next day last year. Actually, when I was in Tampa, Dr. Lopez had just picked me up from the airport, and I was going to speak to the grad students at USF the next morning. And so she had just picked me up from the airport. We were headed out to dinner when that news broke on social media and whatnot. And, we both kind of looked at each other like, what in the world? Because, that's literally in her backyard, right? And I was literally in Tampa at the time. And, it was yet another death of a young athlete that we probably could have done something about. The reality is that we know that athletes will die in athletics. There are certain things we can't help. We can't do anything about. And then there are other things that we can. And this all comes back now. There's an article yesterday on Twitter. I retweeted it, posted it on Facebook. And those posts took me some time because, as I told my friend, I was seeing red for about 10 minutes. And I don't mean Southeast Missouri State Redhawks red. I was livid, and I am livid. And I'm sad and upset because he lost his life, like so many others, with no fight. He lost his life June 11th, 2019, because his school decided to cut corners. His school didn't find athlete safety to be that important. And it's costing them a lot of money, as it should. I tell people when I teach CPR, when I talk about athletic training, that sudden death in athletics typically results in a settlement of somewhere between $1 and $3 million. And Hezekiah's parents have reached a settlement, it appears, with the Hillsborough County School Board for $1 million. That's what his life is worth. His life is worth a whole lot more than that. But the school now is stuck paying a bill of $1 million. And guess what? They're not getting any better. They didn't get any better. And they continue and will continue to put kids just like him at risk in all 27 of their high schools as they move forward. See, that $1 million would pay a pretty good salary for an athletic trainer. I know a lot of athletic trainers who would take that salary of $50,000 a year for 20 years is what that money could provide an athletic trainer for one school. But instead, that money is being spent to pay a settlement for a family who will never be the same. That $1 million does not replace their son. Now, some will say that $1 million didn't get paid by the school anyway. It came from insurance. That's probably true. Doesn't make it right. Schools have got to do a better job. In that particular case, the football coach was reassigned. The assistant principal was demoted. Big deal. Big deal. They didn't make sure he had his paperwork done. They didn't provide care other than calling 911. They didn't provide athletic health care. His school didn't have an athletic trainer. Partnership between the school board and a few medical groups changed that after this incident and provided an athletic trainer at all 27 high schools in Hillsborough County, Florida. Unfortunately, USF Health has disbanded their SMART program, their athletic training outreach program. Select Medical, I've heard, was not renewing its contract. There's 2 of the 3 providers who are now out of the ball game. There's a lot of reasons for that. Everybody can be upset at them. There's reason to be upset. As a USF graduate, I am upset to see USF Health drop this program. But I understand. But as of today, 22 of the 27 high schools in Hillsborough County no longer have an athletic trainer. Again. That's not the hospital's fault. That's not Select Medical's fault. It's the high school's fault. It is the school board's fault. Hillsborough County Schools, they are the ones at fault. Exertional heat stroke is preventable. Sudden cardiac arrest is treatable, hopefully, potentially. Again, athletes die. People die every day. Car accidents, cardiac arrest. We know cardiac arrest. There are some things we can't do. Remember, life, none of us get out of here alive. We all die of something, right? But what we have to do, and we don't do a very good job of it in America, is we have to give our kids a fighting chance. He died last year without a fighting chance. Jordan McNair died at the University of Maryland without a fighting chance. Zachary Martin died in Florida without a fighting chance. Will Schrogen died of exertional heat stroke in Florida without a fighting chance. I may not be able to prevent every death as an athletic trainer, but by golly, I'm going to provide my patient, my athlete, a fighting chance. And I'm going to do everything I can to save their life. And there are so many athletic trainers that are going to do the same thing. But we have to have that opportunity to do so. 35% of all high schools in America employ a full-time athletic trainer. You've heard me say that stat before. 31% employ an athletic trainer in some capacity, some sort of part-time capacity. That leaves 34% of America's high schools that do not have any type of athletic health care whatsoever. 34%. If you look at the statistics, athletes don't die at high schools with athletic trainers. It does happen. It does happen. But if you go look, the large majority of athletic deaths occur in schools that do not employ an athletic trainer. When do we take this wake-up call? When do we do something about it? That's the answer we have to start finding. We can't wait. We can't wait. It's summer again. It is hot. It was 100 degrees almost yesterday here in Dallas, Texas. Guess what? We were on the athletic field. We had 2 athletic trainers on the field for our kids. But there are schools across Dallas, there are schools across Texas, all over the country don't have an athletic trainer. What's it going to take? 1 death isn't enough. 5 deaths isn't enough. 50. When do we say enough? When do we say enough? When do we start doing something about it? Athletic trainers are here to take care of kids. That's what we do. It's what we do every day. We take care of patients, whether it's our high school kids, our middle school kids, our junior high athletes, our college athletes, our professional athletes, our industrial workers, Amazon. So many of these companies starting to employ athletic trainers. Police, fire departments, the United States military. Athletic trainers take care of patients. We take care of athletes. We save lives. We change lives. But we can only do that if we're given that opportunity to do so. But we're not given that opportunity. Not in enough places. I've heard principals say before that they didn't need an athletic trainer because they don't have football. That's a load of nonsense, is what it is. It's crap. Every athlete deserves an athletic trainer. Every athlete deserves an athletic trainer. It doesn't matter whether your school has football. It doesn't matter whether your school is rich or poor, black or white, a socially economic, stable. Every athlete deserves an athletic trainer. And we have got to find ways to start doing this. I don't know what the answer is. I can tell you what my answer is. How do you fund it? I get that question all the time. How do you fund an athletic trainer? The same way you fund a coach, the same way you fund a teacher, the same way you fund an administrator is how you fund an athletic trainer. You wouldn't have a school without a cafeteria director. Got to serve food. Got a guidance counselor. You wouldn't have extracurricular activities unless you employ staff for it. So why do we continue to have athletics and not have certified athletic trainers available for those student athletes? For some of those kids, the only health care they're gonna get is in the school system. And if we're not there, they're not getting it. Today I'm frustrated, I'm livid, I'm upset, I'm sad. Because we continue to see athletes die. And we see athletes die because schools cut corners. Schools that don't have an emergency action plan, they are negligent. Schools that don't make sure that paperwork is completed appropriately and correctly, they are negligent. His life probably could have been saved if they had an athletic trainer on site, if they'd had a cold tub. You know, June 11th, 2019, not 2 weeks prior to that, I was actually in Orlando, Florida, sitting across a table from some of the top experts in the world on exertional heat illnesses. Dr. Lopez being one of them. Dr. Casa, Dr. Miller from Central Michigan. And Dr. Miller, I hope I got that right. I know you're up in Michigan somewhere. Dr. Rob Huggins, Dr. Sam Scarnio. So many people from the Corey Stringer Institute. And I was fortunate to sit in that same room and learn from all of them that day about exertional heat illnesses and what that means. And I remember talking to some of them and telling them that here in the state of Texas, in the Texas Association for Private and Parochial Schools, we don't have a heat policy. And the UIL doesn't have a very good one. And they looked at me going, the state of Texas doesn't have a heat policy? Florida, my understanding is, has one coming, finally. I mean, they only led the country in heat exhaustion or heat stroke deaths. Why aren't we taking care of our kids? Why? We need to start answering that question. And when we find that answer, we need to start finding other answers. The next answer we have to find is how. I know money's tight. Look, guys, I come from an education family. I've been around public education my whole life because both my parents are retired from the public school education system. I have a sister who works in public education. I get it. But if we haven't realized it already with this pandemic, it's time we start realizing that school is so much more than just about the education. And that's such an important part. There's no doubt. But remember, we have kids who, they're lucky to get a meal at school because they don't get it at home. They're looking to the school for health care. And in some cases, the school nurse, or if they have an athletic trainer, is the only place these kids can get health care. Social services. Schools are so much more than just X equals Y. It makes a straight line, by the way. School is so much more than reciting history facts, being able to write a letter. It is our kids' lives. For a long time, it is. And we have got to do a better job of protecting those kids while they are in the care of the school. I'm not looking forward to this summer because every summer we have more high school athletes and even college athletes who die because their schools don't take care of business. Their schools want to cut corners. I'm sad for those kids. Sad for every one of those lives. but it pisses me off, and I'm tired of it. I hate knowing these kids' names. Every athlete deserves an athletic trainer. It's time we figure that out and get it straight.